This is Kelso Surgeon coming to you with another session of my College of Advanced Football Handicapping. You know, this is a dynamite weekend in both the colleges and the NFL. Today's report focuses primarily on the colleges because we have a lot to talk about. Marquee matchups Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and almost unlimited opportunities to get the cash, which I intend to do once again. You know, Thursday night tonight, releasing my 50-unit Atlantic Coast Conference Game of the Year. The Miami Hurricanes at North Carolina. Have very strong feelings about this game and believe I will get the cash. Also going for a 25-unit win on the Seattle Seahawks at Arizona Cardinals game, plus a 15-unit play on the total of that game. And by the way, going for my fourth consecutive totals win. All these games are available on this website and toll free at 1-800-755-2255. Once again, all games available right here on this website and toll free at 1-800-755-2255. And I do take all major credit cards. Now, you know, Saturday is a day of marquee matchups. I mean big time marquee matchups. The biggest game of the day probably is Florida State, unbeaten, at Clemson, unbeaten. And by the way, this game will be the highlight of my college Triple Crown on Saturday at 200-unit play, 3 50-unit games, and a 50-unit parlay. That's the icing on the cake that will break the bank. Now, in addition to Clemson and Florida State, we have these marquee matchups. Auburn at Texas A&M, Florida at Missouri, LSU at Mississippi, UCLA at Stanford, USC at Notre Dame. But it's in some of these other games that we really need to pay attention because they're not getting much publicity, but there's a lot going on. I'm going to run through some injury reports on the impact they might have on some of these games. You might want to grab a pencil and a piece of paper and make some notes here. Or you can always review this video 7 times and retain all the information. You know, the Western Michigan Ball State game, Ball State at Western Michigan. Western Michigan 0-7, averaging just under 13 points a game. 19.5 point home underdog to Ball State, and will again be without starting quarterback Tyler Van Tubergen, out with the shoulder injury. Just really limits the Broncos as to what they can do. Maryland gets back quarterback C.J. Brown as it heads for Wake Forest on Saturday. Maryland is 5-1, a 6.5 point favorite at Wake, which is 3-3. Texas Tech 6-0, opened at 8, by the way, now down to 5.5. And the reason for the number dropping in this game, there's considerable doubt whether Texas Tech quarterback Baker Mayfield, who has a knee injury and missed last week's game, will be available for this one. Now the Northwestern hosts Minnesota, and looks like an absolute laydown. But you know, we have 2 key players questionable for Northwestern. Quarterback Kane Coulter has a severe ankle injury, questionable for Minnesota. Running back Venrick Mark, another guy who makes it all happen, also has an ankle injury and questionable for Minnesota. Right now, Northwestern is a 12.5 point favorite. Now, Auburn is at Texas A&M. Auburn 5-1, and honestly, we don't know how good Auburn is. Texas A&M has lost only to Alabama. Auburn has lost only to LSU, and you know, on this game, the prices are all over the place. You know, depending on where you bet. Now, get this. Depending on where you bet, Texas A&M is a 12, 12.5, 13, 13.5, and even a 14-point favorite at one book. I guess you can shop for the price there. Then we have undefeated Oregon hosting Washington State, a 38.5 point favorite, averaging winning by 43 points a game. The total on that one is 73. Now, you know, Kent State is at South Alabama. South Alabama is a 6.5 point favorite in this game, and Kent State once again will be a bit crippled in this spot. Running back Traylon Durham has been upgraded to starting this game. The starting quarterback Colin Reardon is probably not going to play. I don't know what all that means, but maybe we should just leave the game alone. But Reardon is certainly a key part of this operation. Now, we have a game where there's no quarterbacks. Maybe these teams should revert to the single wing or the split T. Quarterbacks for New Mexico, hosting Utah State. New Mexico quarterbacks Cole Gachet and Clayton Mitchum, both questionable Saturday, one with a knee injury, the other with a concussion. And we know that Utah State lost superstar quarterback Chucky Keaton 2 games ago. I don't know what's going to happen here either. I mean, there's teams with either banged up or no quarterbacks whatsoever. Now, fascinating game today, and I want you to really pay attention. You know, last week Missouri knocked off Georgia in Athens. No easy task, even though Georgia played shorthanded. It still was a big win. Now, in that game, quarterback James Franklin injured his shoulder and is out indefinitely. Maybe not as long as he was supposed to be, and that's the reason when when Missouri hosts Florida on Saturday, Florida is a 3-point favorite in Columbia. Franklin is out, and that puts into the starting lineup at quarterback a redshirt freshman who absolutely is a question mark, but his credentials are strong. That guy happens to be Matty Mock, 6 foot tall, 200-pounder from Keaton, Ohio. Now let me run down some of his credentials. First of all, he's thrown 5 of 6 passes this season for 41 yards. He hadn't seen much action. But let me give the guy's credentials. Okay, Mock comes out of Kenton, Ohio, where he set 4 national high school records, and these figures are stunning. He passed for 18,932 yards during his high school career, a national record. He threw for 219 touchdown passes, a high school record. He completed 1,353 passes, a high school record. He had 22,681 yards of total offense, a high school record. So, you know, Mock steps into the breach. The Florida defense is brutal, so I can't tell you right now that he'll be successful or he won't. But here's a guy who most certainly brings tremendous credentials to the table, and he certainly was to be the quarterback of the future at Missouri, just starting a little soon. Just ponder those figures in your mind. Now we have Mississippi will probably be without starting running back Jeff Scott on Saturday when it takes on LSU. The number on this game also is all over the board. LSU is a -7, a -8, a -8.5, and even a few -9s out there. You can take your pick. We have unbeaten UCLA, a 6-point underdog at Stanford, which is in a bounce-back mode after losing at Utah last week. You might want to weigh that in. And it's rather important that UCLA running back Jordan James, an ankle injury, is listed as doubtful for the game. Big news for Southern California, which is a 3-point underdog at Notre Dame. Wide receiver Marquis Lee, an absolute superstar, is back from a knee injury for this game, and you know he will be an impact player. It's kind of interesting to remember that USC is 8-2 straight up and 6-4 against the number in the last 10 games between these two teams. Notre Dame won last season in Los Angeles 22-13. This game is always a big rivalry for both these squads. And then last but not least, Georgia will again be without running back Todd Gurley, a superstar most certainly, and has been bet down to a -7.5 at Vanderbilt. The game opened 9.5. You know, Georgia remains beat up. That's really the reason they got beat by Missouri last week. But they're still a 7.5-point favorite at Vanderbilt. Very dangerous game in my opinion, but we'll see. Now just remember that all games are available on this website and toll free at 1-800-755-2255, and all major credit cards are accepted. I thank you very much for watching, and we'll be right back here tomorrow with a full NFL report.